I found the envelope taped to my ranch gate. White, official looking, my name was misspelled, and the return address said, Willow Point Homeowners Association. I almost tossed it, but something about the bold red words second notice made me pause. Inside was a printed letter on HOA. Letterhead. It read like a warning. You are in violation of community land use regulations. Your residence is not in compliance with Section 4A of our guidelines. If the issue is not corrected within 14 days, fines will begin accruing. Enforcement actions may follow. I read it twice, then a third time. They were threatening to fine me for living on my own land. The thing is, I don't live in Willow Point. I live next to it. My ranch has been here since 1964, handed down from my grandfather, to my father, and now to me. Before the streets, before the fences, before the fake ponds and cookie-cutter homes, we were here, so who the hell were they to tell me anything? At first, I thought it was a mistake. The new clerk getting a little paperwork mixed up. I called. The number on the letter. A woman picked up with a sugary voice. Willow POHOA office. How can I assist you? Yeah, I said. I got a letter about some kind of violation, but I'm not part of your HOA. What's your address, sir? I told her silence, then she said, oh yes, that property falls within our expanded oversight boundary lines. As of last year, we adopted a perimeter overlay zone. I'm sorry, you adopted what? A community boundary expansion? All properties within the overlay zone must follow HOA guidelines, even if not technically under membership. That's not how land works. She gave a tight laugh. Sir, if you believe this is an error, you can request a hearing at the monthly HOA board meeting. I hung up. I wasn't going to request anything. I own 14 acres of land. I pay county taxes. I fix my own fences. I don't need permission to breathe. Still, the letter sat heavy in my pocket all day. When I fed the cattle, I caught myself looking toward their clubhouse, just across the tree line. Those white-trimmed houses with perfect driveways. They all looked the same, too quiet, too clean. I knew some of the folks who lived there. We'd shared tools, helped each other dig out from a winter storm once. But none of them had said a word to me about this, and now they were claiming I was the one out of line. That night, I stood on my porch and looked out across the pasture. Max, my old dog, lay by the steps, ears twitching. Something was off. I could feel it. I just didn't know yet. That this letter, it wasn't a mistake. It was a warning shot, and I was about to be in a war I didn't start. On land they didn't own. The second letter came 3 days later. This time, it wasn't taped to my gate. It was certified mail. Inside was a sheet of white paper bordered in blue, stamped with bold lettering at the top. Notice of fines, $3,000 due immediately. I read it 3 times, apparently. I was being fined for unauthorized fencing, unpermitted livestock, and my favorite, excessive non-regulated vegetation. I looked out the window at my pasture. Grass, fence, cows, nothing new. I didn't call the HOA office this time. I drove there. The community center sat just past their fountain circle. White stone walls, a pristine parking lot. I walked in wearing jeans and boots, covered in dust and sweat from fixing a trough earlier. People stared like I'd brought a wild animal inside. The receptionist didn't smile. Can I help you? Yeah, I said, pulling out the fine notice. She took it like it smelled bad. Name, I gave it. She typed slowly. Her eyes narrowed at the screen. You've been issued fines due to known compliance with HOA ordinances? The board voted, I don't belong to your HOA. I interrupted. My land isn't in your community. She cleared her throat. The Willow Point boundary map was updated last spring. You fall under Community Impact Zone Oversight. That's not a real thing, I snapped. You can't fine me for owning cows on a cattle ranch. She leaned back. Sir, all landowners affecting the visual or environmental harmony of Willow Point are subject to regulation. Visual harmony? Yes, your fencing is aged. Your barn roof is rusted. And your cows, she made a face, create odor complaints from nearby residents. I just stared at her. My family built that barn with their hands. The fence kept coyotes from tearing through calves. And that odor? That's what the world smells like when you actually work for a living. Who do I talk to about getting this removed? You can request an audience with the board. Next month, I laughed. Next month? You find me today? She smiled like it was rehearsed. You're welcome to submit a formal dispute form. I walked out without saying another word. On the way home, I saw a couple in golf carts watching me from the Willow Point walking trail. They whispered, didn't wave. I pulled over at the edge of my land and stared at the line where their world ended and mine began. Their houses lined up in perfect rows, trimmed hedges and pastel paint, and my ranch? Wide open, real. They didn't want to include me, they wanted to absorb me. Bit by bit, fine by fine. But they were about to find out something real important. This land's been mine longer than their homes have had roofs, and I wasn't going down without a damn fight. I came back from town that Friday. With a bag of feed and a box of bolts, as I pulled into the driveway, something caught my eye. The gate was chained shut, not my chain. A brand new silver padlock. Tight through the latch, like it belonged there. A laminated sign hung from it, flapping in the breeze. Do not remove HOA secured pending compliance. I froze. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe they had the nerve. They locked me out of my own land. I drove around to the back, cut through the dry creek bed, and came in through the pasture. Max ran up barking, confused. He hadn't seen me use that path in years. I stood in front of that chained gate and stared at it like it might blink. Then I went to the shed, grabbed the bolt cutters, and snapped it clean. The sound was loud, satisfying, final. I tossed the chain into the trash bin like it was snakeskin I didn't ask for. That night, I called the sheriff. He showed up around 9, drinking a gas station coffee and looking too tired to care. Let me get this straight, he said, flipping through my papers. They locked your gate on your private property without asking, without notice? Any signs of damage? No, just arrogance. He nodded slowly. Technically, it's trespassing. But if they claim it was a misunderstanding, it'll be hard to press charges. Civil matter at best, so they can do whatever they want, he sighed. You'd be shocked what HOAs get away with. If it were me, I'd get a lawyer, he left with a shrug. That's all the law was worth. Out here a shrug the next morning. I stood on my porch with a cup of black coffee and watched one of their community patrol golf carts roll slowly past my fence line. To people in blue polos, sunglasses on, writing things down on a clipboard, didn't wave, didn't smile, just kept driving. I checked the mail. Another notice, this one said. Unauthorized removal of HOA installed security device, subject to legal action. They were doubling down. They weren't backing off. And suddenly, I understood something. This wasn't about visual harmony. It wasn't about boundary zones or oversight committees. It was about power. They thought I'd fold like everyone else. Take the fines, accept their terms, apologize for existing outside their idea of perfect. But I've buried kin on this land. I've worked it in droughts and storms. And I sure as hell wasn't going to be run off by a bunch of people who mow there. Lawns and collared shirts. They crossed a line, and I was done being quiet. I didn't sleep that night. I kept seeing the lock, the fine letters, the smug looks on those clipboard carriers as they drove past like they owned the dirt under my boots, and maybe they really believed they did. That thought stuck with me, kept chewing at the edges of my mind until I finally got out of bed at 3 a.m., pulled on my boots, and headed for the old storage barn behind the house. The one with my grandfather's filing cabinet. It hadn't been opened in years. The lock was rusty. I had to pry it off. Inside were old blueprints, newspaper clippings, even receipts for barbed wire from the 1970s. At the bottom, under a curled manila envelope, I found it, the original county survey map, dated 1972, stamped and signed by the county surveyor, My grandfather's name written in neat cursive across the top. Martin Calhoun. Land title, boundary reference. It took me a few minutes to understand what I was looking at, but once I saw it, couldn't unsee it. The willow plunked HOA wasn't just near my land. Part of it was on it, their northern edge, the clubhouse. A walking trail and 6 houses sat directly on a parcel of land still deeded to my family. The line on the map was clear as day. I flipped to the back of the envelope. Inside was a property dispute letter from 1985. Apparently, the developer building Willow Point back then had requested to buy that strip of land, and my grandfather refused. They built anyway. No formal transfer, no sale, no signed agreement. Just a quiet encroachment. And for 40 years, no one noticed or no one cared because we never pressed it until now. I sat there in the dark barn, dust in the air, fingers shaking as I spread the map flat under a lamp. They tried to find me, control me, erase me, but they built their empire on stolen ground, and now I had proof. Max wandered in and laid down beside me. His ears perked, like he could feel something shift in the air. This was no longer about a garden statue or fence codes. This was bigger. They didn't own me. They didn't own this land. I owned them, and I was about to remind them what that meant. 2 days after I found the map, she came knocking. Middle-aged, polished, holding a manila envelope like it was sacred. Her name tag said, HOA Compliance Officer. I opened the door, Max standing right behind me, growling low. She didn't flinch. You're being served official notice from the Willow PNT Homeowners Association, she said, holding out the envelope like it was a peace offering. On what grounds? Failure to comply with mandatory code enforcement, continued unauthorized land use, threats to community safety. I laughed in her face. Not a loud laugh, just one of those quiet, dangerous ones. You're really doubling down, huh? Our board voted unanimously. If you don't correct these violations, the HOA will be forced to pursue legal possession of the disputed property. I mean my property? Her face tightened. According to our records, that's community-managed green space. I turned to grab the file folder from just inside the door, handed it to her without a word. She opened it. Inside, the 1972 county survey map, A. Notarized deed in my grandfather's name, a photo of the clubhouse. Clearly built across my boundary, and the denial letter from 1985. Proving the HOA developer had no right to expand, she flipped through the pages, slower with each one. By the last document, her hands were shaking. Where? Did you get this? From my barn? The one you tried to regulate? She stepped back, stammering this, ... This will need to be reviewed. You came here to threaten me with a lawsuit? I just handed you one. She didn't reply. Just turned and walked off. It's faster than she arrived. I stood on the porch and watched her power vanish into the distance. Later that afternoon, I called a lawyer. He whistled after scanning the map. If they built on your land without permission, you have the right to file a quiet title claim. You'd not only reclaim the land, but could pursue damages. They've been collecting dues, hosting events, enforcing rules, on ground that doesn't belong to them. Then this isn't just a boundary issue. This is fraud. I hung up with a smile for the first time in weeks. They thought they could bully me into submission, fine me into silence, push me off my land like I was a weed in their manicured lawn. But they forgot something my grandfather taught me when I was 12, standing on this same dirt. The loudest one ain't always right. The one who owns the ground under their feet, that's the one who holds the truth. And I held it now in ink, in history. In law, they came to serve me papers, but I handed them their reckoning. I wasn't looking for attention, I just wanted them to stop. But after that so-called compliance officer walked off my porch with her pride cracking in her hands, I knew their silence wouldn't last. They'd come back harder, quieter, smarter. So I did the one thing they never expected. I told the world. I sat on my porch the next morning with the map, the letters, the fines, everything, and hit go. Live on my phone, Max? Sat beside me, tail flicking. The sun was still rising behind us, casting that long golden light across the pasture. Hey, name's Calhoun. I live just outside Willow Point, or as they claim now, inside it. Only, problem is, they built half their neighborhood on my grandfather's land. Without permission, and now they're trying to find me, threaten me, and lock me out, like I don't belong here. Let me show you something. I flipped the camera to the map, held it still, spoke slowly. This survey's from 1972, signed, stamped. It proves. Our landline, this letter here, it's from 1985, shows they tried to buy it. My grandfather said no. Yet here we are. The chat started filling with comments. Wait, they built on your land? Sue the hell out of them. Post this on Reddit, HOA hell, suburban colonizers at it again. I didn't expect it to go viral, but within 3 hours, it had 60,000 views. By the end of the day, over 500,000. Screenshots were everywhere. TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, reaction channels. One video titled, "When the HOA Messed with the Wrong Cowboy," got over 1 million hits in 2 days. I didn't sleep much that night, not because I was scared anymore, but because I couldn't believe how many people got it. People who'd been fined for wind chimes, for Christmas lights, for parking the wrong direction in their own driveway. I wasn't just a guy with a deed. I was a mirror for all the folks they'd bullied into silence. Later that week, a local news station reached out. Wanted to film a segment? I said yes. They showed up with cameras, microphones, and a curious reporter who asked one question. What do you hope happens next? I don't want to destroy them, I said. I just want them to stop. Pretending they own what they don't. That clip went national. Within 48 hours, my lawyer's inbox was flooded with offers. HOA lawyers, real estate analysts, retired judges, all confirming the same thing. They didn't just harass the wrong man. They built their kingdom on stolen ground. And now, the whole world was watching it crumble. 3 days after the live stream, hit 500,000 views, the first letter from their attorney arrived. It wasn't aggressive. It was scared. We respectfully request the opportunity to resolve this matter privately to avoid unnecessary public or legal conflict. Translation. Wanted to bury it. Too late by then, the local paper had run the headline. HOA built on stolen land, rancher fights back. The photos were everywhere, me holding the survey, Max by my side, the HOA clubhouse peeking out over my fence like a guilty child. I didn't respond to their letter, because by that point, they weren't just fighting me anymore. They were fighting everyone watching. One of the board members, I think his name was Greg, tried to do a live Q&A on their HOA Facebook page. He lasted 7 minutes. The comments lit him on fire. How do you find someone off land you don't own? Apologize or resign. You're on stolen ground. Admit it. The video vanished an hour later. Then the HOA website went down completely, redirected to a blank page. A neighbor from inside Willow Point came by that evening. Anyone had crossed the line since this started. She looked nervous. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, I didn't know. None of us did. We just thought you were being difficult. I was trying to be left alone. They told us you were trying to sabotage the community. It's funny. I thought they were doing that just fine. She left a casserole dish and walked away. That same night, a law firm from the city reached out. Big firm. Real credentials. They offered full pro bono representation. Said it was an outrageous case of institutional overreach, and they'd be proud to stand behind me. My lawyer told me we now had grounds for damages, decades of land use without lease. HOA dues collected on property they didn't own, emotional distress, unlawful enforcement, and the best part, the clubhouse. Built. Right on my deeded land. Technically, it was mine. My lawyer smiled when he said it. You could evict them. From their own clubhouse? I didn't say yes, not yet. I wasn't after revenge, but watching them sweat, watching them scramble behind fake smiles and legal jargon, this was better than anything I could have planned. The HOA had power when no one questioned it, but now with a camera and an old map, their empire was shaking. And the best part? I hadn't even stepped inside a courtroom yet. I didn't hear about the resignations from the HOA. I heard about them from the mailman. You see this? He said, holding up a folded flyer. came from inside Willow Point. Says the board's dissolved, effective immediately. It read the header twice. Announcement: interim pause of all HOA governance pending legal review. No signatures. No explanation. Just surrender. A week ago, they were locking my gate. Now they were disappearing like smoke in the wind. Later that evening, Carol, the HOA president herself, left me a voicemail. Her voice, once stiff and self-important, now cracked and tired. I just want to say it was never personal. We were just trying to preserve the community standards. I hope we can move past all this. She didn't leave a callback number. I didn't need one. Because the same woman who once fined me for the height of my fence was now afraid to set foot on the very land she tried to control. That night, the clubhouse lights stayed off. No meetings. No patrols. The golf carts stopped circling my property, and for the first time in months, the street was quiet, peaceful, but not because they won, because they were gone. People from inside the community started reaching out, not as HOA members, but as neighbors, real ones. One guy brought over a stack of old violation letters and burned them in a barrel behind my shed. They fined me $200 for having a hammock. He said, laughing as the flames rose. Said it was a visual distraction. Another woman handed me a folder. These are minutes from meetings I sat in on. Stuff they said about you. It was bad, but you turned it around. She looked embarrassed. I didn't blame her. The truth is, it wasn't just about me. It was about how they made everyone feel small, controlled, afraid to plant a rose bush or leave a bike on the porch. And now their little empire of power and paranoia was crumbling from the inside out. The county had started an investigation. The developer's original documents were being reviewed, and my lawyer, he was smiling every time he answered the phone. They're not just facing land loss now, he told me. If the court finds them liable for decades of wrongful enforcement, we're talking real damages. Maybe even class action. I never wanted money. But I wouldn't lie watching them run. Watching them resign without a word. Watching their grip vanish under the weight of their own lies. That was worth more than any check. They thought they could take everything from me. But in the end, they had to run just to keep something. The new sign wasn't fancy, just a slab of oak. Sanded and stained with bold black letters I carved myself. Private. Ranch Land Est, 1964. Not governed by HOA. I bolted it to the gate with steady hands. No drama. No speech. Just wood, truth, and legacy. It didn't need to shout. The whole town already knew. People still slowed down as they passed, some out of curiosity, others out of guilt. One couple from Willow Point stopped by with a plate of cookies and a folded note. Side was a simple line. Thank you for standing up. We're free now, too. I sat beside me as I read it, tail thumping like he understood. The clubhouse across the fence stayed dark. Grass grew tall around the sidewalk. No more board meetings, no more patrols, just silence. Good silence. Neighbors who once kept their eyes down now waved. Asked about the cattle. Offered to help repair the old fence line. It wasn't sudden, but it was steady, and something strange started to happen. People remembered how to be people. No more measuring mailboxes. No more spying from windows. They talked again. Laughed again. Lived again. As for me, I kept the survey map in a fireproof box now, not because I needed to prove anything anymore, but because it reminded me of something important. This land didn't just belong to me. It belonged to my family, to our sweat and calluses, to every sunrise and storm we endured, and no HOA paper, no clipboard, no petty vote could ever rewrite that truth. One afternoon, Pete, one of the few board members who never said a word, walked up to the gate. Heard you're not suing for damages, he said quietly. Not yet. You could have taken it all. I already did. He nodded, then smiled, the first real one I'd seen from him, and walked back down the gravel path toward his side of the fence. I watched him go, and I thought about how close I came to losing this place. Not to a fire or flood, but to arrogance. Paperwork. People with no roots. Now. Now I sit on my porch with Max, coffee in hand. I breathe easy again. Because sometimes, justice doesn't wear a badge or a robe. Sometimes, it's a bolt cutter, a survey map, or a hand-carved sign on a ranch gate. Either way, it's mine, and they'll never take it again.